do not offer foreign exchange for food and fertilizer imports, President Muhammadu Buhari tells CBN. Federal government launches 75 billion naira MSME survival fund. Constitutes committee to draw guidelines for the disbursement of 10 billion naira transport palliative. Distribution companies to pay for rejecting electricity. The program is Business Express, reaching you from Abuja, the nation's capital. And this edition will be focusing on inventiveness to set the economy back on track. I am Muplang Dakok. Thank you for staying tuned to Business Express. President Muhammadu Buhari has warned the Central Bank of Nigeria against issuing any kobo of the country's reserves for the importation of food items and fertilizer. The president gave the warning at a closed session of the National Food Security Council, saying he will pass it down in writing that nobody importing food should be given money. He emphasized the need to boost local agriculture as government rolls out the economic sustainability plans and sets goal for national food security. President Buhari also directed blenders of fertilizer to convey their products directly to state governments so as to skip the cartel of transporters undermining efforts at successfully delivering the products to users at reasonable costs. The Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Dr. Zainab Ahmed, highlighted government's resolve to facilitate the cultivation of 20,000 to 100,000 hectares of new farmland in every state and support the offtake of agro-processing to create millions of direct and indirect job opportunities. On his part, Controller General of Customs, Hamid Ali, expressed the hope of an early reopening of the partially closed borders, given the progress made with neighboring states in joint border patrols. President Muhammadu Buhari says his administration will neither waver nor lose focus in its quest for food security, despite heightened global concerns around food supply systems. Speaking at a crucial meeting of the National Food Security Council, the president reassured farmers of government's continued support to the various food enhancement initiatives and many more to come.
The nation thanks our farmers for rising to the occasion and answering our national call. I am pleased to note that most Nigerians are taking advantage of the opportunities in the agriculture and the agri-business sector. I want to assure you that this government will continue to support these initiatives and many more to come. While our key actors in the agricultural space are championing increased hectareages under cultivation, we need to pivot our attention and resources to how we can improve yield per hectare. This new shift will be a significant boost in our determination to strengthen our objective in achieving food security.
In another development, the federal government has launched a survival fund for micro, small and medium enterprises nationwide. The conditional grants under the Economic Sustainability Plan is designed to support vulnerable micro, small and medium enterprises amid the coronavirus pandemic. Comfort Amadou reports that the scheme targets 35,000 individuals per state.
Because of the coronavirus, people are not coming to the market, and my market is
Data from the National Bureau of Statistics show that businesses like that of Comfort, Mamman, and more than 95% of the 41 million micro, small and medium enterprises contribute to about 50% of Nigerians' GDP and 86% of the workforce. These businesses have been largely affected by the new economic realities. As part of effort to boost local business and aid small businesses to recover from the impact of the pandemic, the federal government launched an MSME Survival Fund to impact about 1.7 million entities and approximately 35,000 individuals per state. The Minister of State for Industry, Trade and Investment and the Director General Smeden, who disclosed this during an interface with newsmen in Abuja, said the MSME Survival Fund and the Guaranteed Offtake Schemes, which is expected to be implemented within the initial period of 3 months nationwide, will roll out 60 billion naira for the Survival Fund and 15 billion naira for the Guaranteed Offtake Scheme. This is from the 2.3 trillion naira stimulus package of the Nigerian Economic Sustainability Plan to cushion the impacts of COVID-19.
The total package that has been allocated is 75 billion, and we have 50 billion for the payroll support and another 10 million for the transportation sector. And then you have 15 billion for the guaranteed offtake.
It's not a payback, it's a grant that is given to support their payroll and also to support their businesses to ensure that those businesses are done properly. What they should make sure they have is they should ensure that they register with any of the BMOs, either SMEDEN, either NASME, or either the MSME clinic being run by the Office of the Vice President.
The program, when implemented across the Federation, within the time frame of 3 to 5 months, will benefit 500,000 vulnerable MSMEs, as well as enable the provision of 333,000 artisans and transport business operators, including 30,000 operation grants to absorb the shock of the pandemic.
Now, Dr. Emmanuel Bashayi is a business consultant, and we shall be taking a look at retail marketing in the midst of COVID-19 and efforts to boost value chain activities as authorities continue to put in place economic survival policies. You're welcome to Business Express.
Pleasure is all mine.
All right. So with the pandemic, many businesses and even consumers alike have had to, adapt to, the situation.
Yeah.
How has the pandemic affected retail marketing in Nigeria?
Okay, so just to understand what retail marketing is, it's basically the tactics that retailers employ to ensure they're able to attract their target audience to sell their products. That's in simple way.
Okay.
Now, the pandemic has brought to us a new normal. So the regular stuff we're doing has been disrupted. Okay, so we're locked down for months, and a couple of things have changed. So it is completely outrageous to think that nothing has happened. All right, so the systems and the processes that a retailer will have employed before the pandemic might need to be tweaked at this time because of the differences in the realities. Okay, so yes, the pandemic has affected how things are, and retail marketing has also taken a different turn. So whether it's a brick and mortar store where you have a shop, or the e-commerce or the e-store where you have products that are not physical but virtual, different things have changed because of the new normal. So different dynamics.
So I was going to ask you, what are those new normals in retail marketing? What are those things that retail marketers have begun to do?
So somebody who had only a shop now needed to start thinking about how he can go virtual. Okay. So people might not move because there was a time we couldn't move freely. They couldn't move to his store anytime they liked. So he would rather put the products on WhatsApp or put them on Facebook or put them somewhere where the potential customers can easily see. So he is able to, especially for essentials products like food and the rest, people were allowed to move around to deliver food. There are courier companies who were working to able to ensure they deliver essentials. So the only way I can know you sell this is when I see that you sell it online, because I'm not able to move freely anymore. So the penetration of online and e-marketing increased because more people now needed to go electronic to get to their own target audience versus getting the physical structures in place to ensure that they're able to read their target
Okay, so with what you've said, do you think businesses can survive without physical presence?
I mean, the pandemic has proven to us that the things that we thought were impossible are actually possible.
Okay.
So we used to think that you have to travel all around the world to have meetings. Now you can do meetings virtually, right? We used to think that I need to go to the market to go buy tomatoes and fresh fish and the rest. Now somebody can say, I sell fresh fish, just order, I can deliver it. So the pandemic has now brought to us a new reality that says a couple of things that we thought were impossible are actually possible, because we were locked down for 3 months. That's a reality. And we survived. That means we can still survive even if there's another lockdown, because we have learned how to survive in spite of the challenge.
Do you think the situation has given birth to new modes of payment for goods and services?
Definitely,
Okay.
definitely. Before now, payment solutions, sometimes you have to go to the bank to go and do a transaction. Now it has been made such that you can stay in your home and do it. Banks now monitor how many people are in the banking hall at a time. So what it means is that the number of people that a bank can attend to in a day is significantly lower than what it used to be. And what that means is that every other customer that is not attended to physically will have to find alternative ways of getting the service he wants. So yes, this is the new normal. Banking services are going electronic. So the bank will tell you, go electronic.
So what do you think this is doing to financial inclusion? Like more people, local people, I would say, who were not bankable before, do you think at this time they would even want to bank? Because we want a situation whereby people in the rural areas, you know, queue into the banking system. But now that people go virtual and then monies, you don't have to go into the bank, what do you see happening to financial inclusion?
So the government has always been drumming the issue of cashless economy, cashless policy, which is cheaper for the government because it reduces the cost of printing money. Today I see more POS stands than ATM machines. People rather go to a POS, pay a token as transaction fee and get the service they want and move. In my local community, there are a couple of POS stands. So people don't go queue up the long ATM to be able to withdraw cash. They can now transact. So it has further given us, opened us to the reality that these things that we thought were impossible are actually possible now. Because a woman in the village can now have a transaction, monetary transaction, while still in the village. She doesn't have to travel because there's a POS agent there. I mean, think about how it has happened in East Africa. East Africa has M-Pesa that has made financial inclusion so easy. People in the most rural community can transact using M-Pesa. It's very easy, all right? So this is bringing a disruption in the way we do business, because such money solutions, such solutions are going to continue to come in because the landscape is beginning to adjust to the fact that traditional things might not really work fully again. Now we have to think differently.
Okay, what do you think government needs to do to keep businessmen and women in business? And what do these marketers need to do to remain in business with the pandemic? Because the pandemic is still with us.
Yeah, the pandemic is still with us. And what government needs to do is walk the talk, okay? Government is saying, we want to, as much as possible, move cashless. Ensure that the policies continue to support the cashless economy. The tariffs that I need to pay to be able to transact using the POS should be minimal, should be put in a way that is minimal enough for me to be able to easily do it. Because when the charges become outrageous or policies change and make it difficult, then it begins to take us back again to the traditional way of doing things. So government has been supportive and saying we want to make it as easy as possible for people to transact electronically. You have mobile apps now, you use POS now, all the charges are being reasonable enough for you to be able to easily do. That is what we should be doing, and we should continue doing that, because I know the value of my money. If I'm going to pay a token to get my money, I'm okay, as long as it doesn't stress me too much. That is what inclusion is all about. Okay. And that I don't have to travel kilometers. I can get the same service at the same quality with parting just with a little amount of money. I'm fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's shift a little bit. The federal government has been, you know, giving out different incentives and survival strategies for small businesses since the pandemic. Yeah. And just within this week, the president gave some directives to relevant agencies on some palliatives, I would say, for MSMEs and so many other instructions.
Yeah. All
in a bid to, you know, sustain the business environment. What's your take about that?
I think it's a very good step.
Okay.
We need to protect the weakest among us. A big conglomerate might find a way of weathering the storm in this tough time. But for a weaker business, it will be tougher. All right? Some businesses have had to erode their working capital because prices of inputs have increased, that the cash available to consumers has also reduced. So if you make the prices go higher, the purchasing power is also not so strong to be able to afford. So if government is able to support these guys to be able to keep their price pretty stable, then it supports the entire system. Because let's not make any mistakes about it. The micro and small and medium businesses are going to drive the economy for a long time. That is what you talk about, the real sector, the real people who need this money to be able to boost their business, increase their productivity, increase their efficiency, to be able to bring out an increased output. That way, the impact goes bigger versus touching just a few top ones and leaving the bottom that is full of the, that has a larger population of the small and medium businesses. So I think it's a very good step in the right direction.
All right. Thank you very much. I guess we'll end the discussion at this point. We've been speaking to Emmanuel Bashai. He is a business consultant. Thank you so much for coming again on Business Express.
Pleasure is mine. Thank you for having me.
Moving on. Thousands of smallholder farmers in Nigeria are to benefit from an agricultural initiative by the new Partnership for Africa's Development, NEPAD, towards cushioning the effect of COVID-19 on food security. Mitaire Ikpen reports that the National Coordinator, African Union Development Agency and NEPAD, Gloria Akobundu, stated this at a meeting in Abuja with Kwara State Governor Abdulrahman Abdulrazak and other key players in the project.
Holders, and that is the target. Now, in terms of benefits, the whole idea is to make subnational governments committed. How do you commit somebody? Making part of it by providing counterpart funding. It shows seriousness to the project.
They need the enabling environment, they need the land reclamation, they need the startup park, they need seedlings, they need to be trained, they need to be monitored, and they also need to be provided with drying pods, storage, and then, if possible, train them on the processing, preservation, packaging, and then the market, which is export.
Deregulation of the petroleum downstream subsector is a policy direction in the interest of common Nigerians. Minister of State Petroleum Timi Praise Silva, who said this while interacting with journalists in Abuja, added that with the latest development, government can be able to develop refineries to operate optimally.
To sequence the rehabilitation of the refineries, we are going to start first with Port Harcourt refineries. Now, there is going to be a third refinery within Port Harcourt refinery, which is going to co-locate. It's going to be a private refinery, but it's going to co-locate with the two refineries in Port Harcourt. That project is going, the EPC for Port Harcourt refinery will be signed in Q4 of 2020. And by Q1 2021, work will start in earnest. Discussions are ongoing with the rehabilitation of Warri and Kaduna as well. And I want to assure you that with deregulation, it won't be difficult for us to do that, to fix these refineries, because these will be commercially viable ventures now.
Meanwhile, bargain hunting Thursday halted losing streak, with investors gaining more than 50 billion naira, occasioned by price appreciation. Stocks depreciated early Friday, the last trading day of the week. However, at the close of business, the all-share index logged a 0.28% gain to stand at 25,591.95 points. Equity capitalization also inched up to 13.35 trillion naira. 212 million shares worth 2.278 billion naira were traded in 3,239 deals. Custodian investment, Zenith Bank and Guinness were the most sought-after stocks for the day. And European stocks struggle for direction as the European Central Bank economists warn over complacency. On the other hand, U.S. stock futures climb on the last trading day of a volatile week. Next is a brief on the performance of markets around the globe as put together by Bosede Ebel.
On the global markets, stocks in Asia were mostly higher on Friday, the 11th of September, as investors watched regional technology stock movements following a decline in sector stateside. Shanghai Composite up 0.79%, Hang Seng Index advanced 0.78% to end its trading day at 24,503.31, while Nikkei rose 0.74% to 23,406.49. U.S. stock futures traded higher after unpredictable session in which the recent tech sell-off resumed. Dow Jones Industrial Average futures implied an opening gain. S&P 500 futures rose 0.8% and Nasdaq 100 futures also gained. European markets were mixed as investors monitored tense negotiations between the UK and the European Union. Also in Africa, stock markets opened mixed, with South Africa's JSE Africa Top 40, Nairobi's All Share, and Tunisia's Tunidex posting gains.
Driven by the drop in crude oil prices, federally collected revenue fell by 32% to 625.9 billion naira in May 2020 from 915.28 billion naira collected in April. The Central Bank of Nigeria, in its monthly economic report for May, stated that the government also recorded a 23% rise in deficit to 561.71 billion naira in May from 488.24 billion naira deficit recorded in April. According to the regulator, the changes in Federation account revenue were driven by outturns in both oil and non-oil revenues. Lastly, a look at commodity prices. And this is where we end this edition of Business Express. Remember, you can communicate with us on Twitter. The handle is @NTA News Now. And don't forget to use the hashtag BizX. Remember to obey all the set-down guidelines as the world battles COVID-19. Business Express returns on Monday. I am Muplang Dakok.